from around the Beltway to around the world. This is the Daily Drum on 96.3 WHUR. Plus, now every Wednesday on WHUT TV, bringing you the information you need that matters most. Better together. Here's Harold Fisher.
Good evening. This is the Daily Drum for Wednesday, October 18th. Here's what's happening. A Montgomery County cop is in critical condition after he was struck by a DUI suspect on I-270 in Gaithersburg. Sergeant Patrick Kep was deploying stop sticks in the northbound lanes near Watkins Mill Road around 4 o'clock this morning when the driver hit him and kept going. Chief Marcus Jones says this was no accident.
The situation took a turn when the driver, the 19-year-old Frederick Raphael Mayorga, intentionally, and I want to stress that, the vehicle is observed actually intentionally moving from the middle lanes to the far left lanes, and it came directly at Sergeant Kep as he was deploying the stop sticks.
Sergeant Kep has lost the use of his legs. In the wake of this incident, Mayorga was arrested and is facing several charges, including attempted murder. North and southbound DC 295 were shut down for hours today after a high-load truck hit a pedestrian walkway. The truck hit the bridge at Douglas Street Northeast and drove off around 11:30 this morning. No injuries were reported. DDOT is inspecting the bridge. DC police are looking for 5 suspects in a robbery at the D.C. Wharf last night. It happened in front of the Felipe Chow restaurant in the 600 block of Wharf Street Southwest. Viral video shows 4 gunmen jumping out of a car around 11 o'clock and robbing several people before making their getaway. For the third time in 2 days, there's been a murder near Maryland and H Street Northeast. A man who was shot to death around midday on 15th Street. Assistant Chief Morgan Kane is asking for community help.
It is very clear that the people that have these guns will use them, and they will use them without a second thought to the devastation that they're bringing to not only their family, but the families that are losing their loved ones.
Early Monday afternoon, 28-year-old Devon Fuller, a former aide to D.C. Council member Breonna Doe, was shot and killed on Maryland Avenue. Also Monday afternoon, a man was shot to death on Tennessee Avenue Northeast. U.S. Capitol Police say about 300 Jewish activists supporting Palestinians have been arrested at the U.S. Capitol. The arrests happened at the Cannon House Office Rotunda and around the Capitol complex. 3 have been charged with assaulting a police officer. The protests come as the war between Israel and Hamas continues to escalate following the bombing of a hospital in Gaza. And happening right now, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser is speaking with community members about the future of RFK Stadium. The meeting is being held at St. Benedict the Moore Church, 320 21st Street Northeast. The mayor wants to bring the Washington Commanders back to the city. Here's a look at the weather now tonight. Mainly clear with lows in the mid-40s to low 50s. Tomorrow, mostly sunny and mild with warmer temperatures, highs above 70. Well, coming up, more death and violence in the Israel-Hamas war. D.C.'s crime problems continue. RFK and more. We're at the Reporters Roundtable with the top stories of the week. Lines are open. Give us a call. 202-319-7810. 202-319-7810. Insight is next on WHUR and WHUT-TV.
On the go and on demand, WHUR and WHUT are with you. Download the WHUR app today to get full access to shows, playlists, and our latest contests. To access WHUT on demand, download the PBS app and make Howard University Television your station. Catch up on our WHUT original productions anytime, anyplace on YouTube at WHUT TV. WHUR and WHUT, better together.
DC, Maryland, and Virginia, you might have noticed something a little different on Monday nights at 8 p.m. I'm Angie Ange, our Director of Content here at WHUT. And Monday nights at 8 p.m., we like to call it Must See DMV. All your favorite shows from all your favorite creators focused solely on what makes DC, Maryland, and Virginia so special. So set your clock, and we'll catch you at 8 p.m. right here on WHUT, Howard University Television, telling your stories on your station.
Going beyond the headlines to the deeper issues. 96.3 WHUR and HUR Voices, Sirius XM Channel 141. This is the Inside segment where your questions and comments matter at 202-319-7810. Join the conversation.
Welcome back to the Daily Drum on WHUR, Sirius XM Channel 141, 96.3 HD2, 98.3 FM, and WHUT TV. This is the Insight segment. I'm Harold Fisher. We're at the Reporters Roundtable with a look at the top stories of the week. War in Israel, still in search of a speaker on Capitol Hill. D.C. crime. What is excited delirium? RFK Stadium, and of course, Jada Pinkett Smith coming to town. And more. In studio with me are Denise Rolark Barnes, publisher of the Washington Informer newspaper, and Keith Alexander, Pulitzer Prize-winning reporter with the Washington Post. Lines are open. Give us a call at 202-319-7810, 202-319-7810. You can X me at HFisher, WHUR, or you can find me on Instagram at Harold T. Fisher. Denise, Keith, thank you so much for joining the conversation again.
Pleasure to be here.
Great to be here, Harold. That's
Howard Homecoming weekend.
Yes. The first time I've actually heard that term used correctly. You can X me.
X me, yes. We don't have to tell them that it, as I'm about to say, it used to be Twitter. Yeah, but X me.
Tweeting is out.
Yeah, how about that? Xing is in. Yeah. Let us first start with Israel-Hamas war. President Biden returning to the U.S. after a brief visit to Israel.
More than 1,300 innocent Israelis killed, including at least 31 American citizens, by the terrorist group Hamas. Israel must again be a safe place for the Jewish people. And I promise you, we're going to do everything in our power to make sure that it will be.
And, of course, there were anti-war protests on Capitol Hill today. Some 300 people arrested. Biden has scheduled an Oval Office address on the war tomorrow. Looks like, Denise, the president is having to do a very, very delicate dance, telling Hamas not to attack again, and saying that the United States will do all it can to protect both sides. That's seems to be a bit hard to do.
It seems extremely hard to do, Harold. And as we have watched our what appears to be a very frail president travel to Israel to meet with the folks in Israel, but also, the Muslim or Middle Eastern folks who canceled their meeting with him. I mean, I don't know what kind of influence, other than the president declaring that America is, so dominant and we will do all that we can to support Israel. I'm not even sure how the American people feel about that. And so he does have a delicate dance, and we're all, I think, trying to figure out how political this might be as well. And what's happened to Ukraine?
How about that? I mean, it's
it's been eclipsed.
That's one of those things that is certainly still hanging out there, and we've seen protests at the American embassy in Jerusalem. There were protests on Capitol Hill today. In
college campuses
in New York and Chicago, around Jewish cultural centers and synagogues, stepped up police protection. This issue has certainly taken over the headlines.
This is, and I've heard this said, and it was so surprising to hear. The amount of lives that have been lost, Israeli lives lost, the most since the Holocaust, and when that just was like, whoa. And that's why this is so emotional, and this is obviously why the president is there. I mean, this is a huge issue for Americans, especially Americans who are of the Jewish faith, have Israel relatives. This is going to be a huge issue, and I don't think this is going to go away anytime soon. And the sad part is that we don't have anyone in Congress now. Don't have a speaker, so there's nothing going on to move this. From the United States perspective, move this ball along. From our perspective, this is a really bad timing all around.
But Keith, if I'm not mistaken, and I could be totally incorrect with my numbers, but to hear that there's a pledge to put at least
$100
million into both of these wars when the American people and our American society is really struggling right now. Where is this? I mean, is it just that we just can print money and give it away and it has some value? It just is overwhelming, I think, to so many of us in this country who are looking at what's going on. Nobody likes war.
No.
Nobody likes war. And nobody likes to see innocent women and children being slaughtered. No
and
one
men.
likes the... and men. Well, I didn't mean to leave the men, but, men are the ones that tend to go to war. Speaking of, and I don't know, if people are paying attention to the rumblings about the U.S. military, I think really trying to figure out how they're going to ramp up, looking to try to get more men and women into military service because our military is in low numbers right now. So are we headed into something that we are not prepared for?
Well, it's also interesting. I'm curious as to the $100 million. How much have we given to Ukraine so far?
Oh my goodness!
And I would like to see. I would really like to see that type of analysis. Is that this is how much the U.S. has given in this war, and now they're talking about giving another $100 million to what's going on in Hamas and Israel. Like you said, where is this money coming from?
Yeah,
that really would be the story to be done.
202-319-7810, 202-319-7810. We are at the Reporters Roundtable talking about some of the top stories of the week, and we have quite a bit. Quite a bit to talk about here. And to answer your question, Keith,
my man.
And this is, I do what I can. And this is from the Council on Foreign Relations. Since the war began, the Biden administration and the U.S. Congress have directed more than $75 billion in assistance to Ukraine, including humanitarian, financial, and military support. And
that's B with the billion.
That's with the B. And this is dated September 21st of this year. So $75 billion. And to your point, Denise, and this is one of the biggest arguments before the Israel-Hamas war kicked in. People need to remember history, and I think that the big push by the administration to support Ukraine is because we have to remember what happened during World War II with Adolf Hitler, when it was, Poland, Czechoslovakia, and on and on and on. And the big argument about Ukraine, obviously, is that if Ukraine succumbs to Vladimir Putin in Russia, that Poland could be next, and some of the other NATO allies. Now, and again, we could go into a whole conversation about, again, those who do not remember history and they are only looking at the money. And then, of course, this Israel-Hamas conflict has come up. Yes, it is expensive. There's no question about that.
And I think history is important because for those of us in America who feel as though we're not impacted by that, other than the money, really need to understand how the Americans actually stuck their finger into these wars. They go back centuries.
Yes,
and so,
absolutely. To the 1300s.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And it's really, again, no one wants to see innocent men, women, and children killed, and it's all over land. It's all over power, economic power, and America keeps stepping into these things.
And don't forget, Congress just a month or so ago was holding up the budget because there was pushback, particularly from the GOP, in supporting Ukraine.
Right.
And now we've got Ukraine and we have, Israel. So it'll be interesting to hear what the president has to say. Also interesting to hear what our listeners have to say at 202-319-7810, 202-319-7810. Mary calling from Maryland. Mary, thanks for calling. What's on your mind?
Yes, I'm calling because our president is giving munitions and all kinds of aid to Israel and saying it's all unconditional aid. And why doesn't he pressure Netanyahu to create the two-state solution, which has the Israeli military forcefully enters Palestinian homes, grabs women and children, sometimes even kill them on an ongoing basis for 3 decades, and give their homes and lands to settlers? Isn't our president concerned about that? He is letting Israel dictate how much food and essential medicine and water to. How can one state have so much control over another?
Yeah. Interesting point, Mary. As we know, going all the way back to President Jimmy Carter, the two-state solution has not worked. But to be quite honest, but what has worked?
Well, Israel is an ally of the U.S., a long-standing ally. So I'm not surprised by any of that. I mean, we had a long relationship with that country. Not surprised how the U.S. has aligned with Israel in this. Not surprising at all.
Yeah. And has historically been one of the largest, foreign recipients of foreign American dollars. Historically, one of the countries that's been one of the largest recipients of American dollars. So, I mean, clearly there's a strong relationship there. And boy, would it be nice to have those kind of relationships with the countries that we may have hailed from, right? But again, that's something that, like you said, when they get a new speaker, it'll be interesting to hear those debates on Capitol Hill, because they're going to debate this issue.
Yeah, but they got to debate the speaker thing first, which is my next point. And we are going to get to Burgess and Ann in just a bit, but you just brought up the next point. This speaker selection process is deja vu all over again.
All over again.
What happened, on the Hill today was that another 2 votes, thumbs down.
He got less votes this time around. Jordan got less votes the second time around than he did the first time.
But we're missing, to me, I think one of the things we're missing, which is, of course, as a publisher of a black-owned newspaper, you couldn't have come into the room with me with a sense of pride, and I took this personally, with the votes that now I just got brain freeze. But who's getting the most votes by the members of Congress?
What do you mean, Jim Jordan?
No,
McCarthy.
No. See, and that's the sad thing.
You're talking about Hakeem Jeffries? For the Democrats. Well, yeah, but the Democrats they're definitely united on this.
But there have been some Republicans that have crossed over, and that's what they're banking on. Hakeem got 212 votes to Jim Jordan's 200, and then there were some others that got whatever. But the point is, there's a real push
for Republicans to cross over
to get Hakeem either now or later in that seat. It'll be the first time.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I've been kind of sitting back and waiting with each count with my popcorn. Wondering if that is going to happen.
You really think it could?
No. I disagree. I don't think it's going to happen.
You're waiting in vain.
Obama could have never been president of the United States, and
No.
But this is a whole different Congress.
I agree.
I understand.
This is a different Congress here that this country has never seen before.
I would just say never say never.
Yeah,
I
think
I'll say keep hope alive.
Keep hope alive. Come on, Jesse. 202-319-7810. 202-319-7810. Burgess, calling from D.C. Thanks for calling. What's on your mind?
Hi, thank you for taking my call. I think as Americans, we really need to look at the history of Israel and Palestine. Americans, specifically the White House administration, are very involved in other countries along their election process, the running of their democratic society. However, as one of your speakers said, we have so many immediate issues that need to be addressed in America. And if this is just another stalling of President Biden, where Americans are not fully paying attention, we think of immediately you see on the screen images of Israel. Oh, there's so many shootings. There's so many, there's war going on. But let's look at our own city, D.C. Let's look at our own city, Chicago. We have a lot of things that must be tackled in America before we pledge millions and billions of dollars across the Atlantic Ocean. And we need to take care of our own backyard. And I think once we focus on getting ourselves back into a supportive stance, we can go and defend others, because who's going to come to America's aid? It's just very disheartening as an American that we are spreading ourselves too thin.
Okay.
And we don't have the same force as everyone else. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Burgess. Real quick,
what your caller is saying is something that's Biden is now seeing. This is going to be a major issue in the upcoming election.
No question.
This is going to be a huge, particularly when people are saying just what the caller said. You were doing all this abroad, and look at where we are domestically. This is going to be a huge factor for Biden in seeking re-election.
Let me move on to the next topic. Keith's favorite topic, of course, D.C. crime. It just gets...
224.
Yeah, and just 224 homicides in the city, and just more twisted in so many turns. Just the story that I reported earlier today. 3 murders within just a few blocks near Heckinger Mall, including a former aide to D.C. council member Breonna Nadeau. The incident at the wharf last night, where people are literally standing on the sidewalk, probably waiting on an Uber or something else, and these 4 gunmen get out of the car, rob people standing on the sidewalk, and run away. I do not envy the mayor, Denise, and her administration as they try to get a handle on what is going on.
And our new police chief.
Yes.
Who, is a preacher on the side, who may find a way to pray our way out of this.
This situation definitely needs prayer. There's no question.
It really does.
Yeah.
I mean, and the thing about it is, I think, as my daddy used to say, lottie-dottie and everybody, is trying to find a way to help, recognizing that this is not a police solution here. But I guess one of my questions, Keith, is it was reported yesterday in the Washington Post that gun violence, homicides are down. That seemed, people are scratching their heads. The FBI has reported.
You mean across the nation?
Across the nation.
I see. Yes,
now, the District of Columbia was not cited in that article, which was interesting. But from that standpoint, I'm not really prepared to talk about where we are. I know there's been an increase in gun violence, but to what extent, I'm not sure. And in the district, I think we are looking even more at carjackings and personal property robberies, which are really, real high.
Right.
But this access to guns, which everybody seems to have one, and now I'm seeing what seems to be the issue is not only do the bad guys have the guns, but the good girls and guys now are trying to equip themselves with weapons as well to protect themselves from the bad girls and guys. And so now there's going to be this increase in gun violence. And places where it's happening are places where it didn't used to happen across the city.
Recently I covered a case where a woman was charged with homicide because she was protecting her sister. Because her sister got into an argument with her roommate. She went over to her sister's house, and then the roommate got into her sister's face, and she had a license to carry, and she pulled out her gun and she shot and killed the roommate. And her response was, "I wish I did not have my gun with me."
Yeah.
Because that's how she reacted. Now, 224 homicides last year, 203 for the entire year. So yes, homicides are up, and we're only in October. We still have 2 more months to go, and we are definitely going. We haven't seen anything like this since the 1990s.
I need to take a break. But don't forget, you can hear every edition of the Daily Drum Insight segment via podcast on WHUR.com. And don't forget to download the 96.3 HD2 app on your smartphone and hear the program live in its entirety. If you're on the phone, Ruth calling from D.C. Dean also calling from D.C. Stay with us. The Daily Drum will continue on Sirius XM Channel 141 and WHUT TV. I'm Harold Fisher. John Mons is next with the original Quiet Storm. That's on WHUR. This conversation continues in just a bit.
On the go and on demand, WHUR and WHUT are with you. Download the WHUR app today to get full access to shows, playlists, and our latest contests. To access WHUT on demand, download the PBS app and make Howard University Television your station. Catch up on our WHUT original productions anytime, anyplace on YouTube at WHUT TV. WHUR and WHUT, better together.
DC, Maryland, and Virginia, you might have noticed something a little different on Monday nights at 8 p.m. I'm Angie Ange, our Director of Content here at WHUT. And Monday nights at 8 p.m., we like to call it Must See DMV. All your favorite shows from all your favorite creators, focused solely on what makes DC, Maryland, and Virginia so special. So set your clock, and we'll catch you at 8 p.m. right here on WHUT, Howard University Television, telling your stories on your station.
Welcome back to the Daily Drum on Sirius XM Channel 141 and WHUT TV. I'm Harold Fisher. We're at the Reporters Roundtable, examining some of the top stories of the week. My guests are Denise Rolark Barnes, publisher of the Washington Informer newspaper, and Keith Alexander, Pulitzer Prize-winning reporter with the Washington Post. Lines are open at 202-319-7810. 202-319-7810. Let me go back to the phone lines. Gary calling from Maryland. Thanks for calling, Gary. What's on your mind?
Yeah, hey, pleasant good evening, Harold, and to you and to your guests. We are no closer to solving the crime issue in D.C. or Baltimore or any of the other cities in the U.S. We're no closer to solving that than we are to the border crisis. It's an issue that we legislators have failed, both on the local level and on the national level, have failed to address. Our mayor in Baltimore has addressed this issue. It has to do with coming up with reasonable and effective gun legislation. Maryland does allow for the citizens to have a carry permit. That's a good start, but something more needs to be done on a national level.
Gary, did you say we legislators?
Yes.
Are you an elected official?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
No, I'm not. I am a resident. I live outside of Baltimore, White Marsh, and my church is in the city, and I'm very concerned with this violence, this crime, especially with our young folk.
So, Gary, can I ask you a question? You said that Baltimore has tried to address this. What do you think Baltimore has done that might be working or has worked?
Well, I think just talking about it is one. Working on our youth. I know that the state attorney, Ivan Bates, has made some proposals in the legislature to begin looking at effective ways to curb the violence with our youth. We have to start somewhere, and that would be a most effective place to start looking at legislation that puts criminals, takes them to task, and makes sure that the laws are upheld.
Okay. Gary, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us. One of the things, Denise, that came out last week, and we talked about it on this program, but I think it's worth mentioning again, when in Prince George's County, County State's Attorney Aisha Braveboy and Prince George's County Executive Angela Alsobrooks met at Flowers High School with young people from across the county to talk about what they believe is the genesis of the increase in youth-related violence. And the main thing that came out was young people, they were saying that it's the internet, that it allows them, specifically social media, it allows them to be other people, to be big, to be bad, to be bold, to be threatening. But then what happens is those young people who otherwise would be shrinking violence come across someone who is not. And then they come after them in real life. They also said that poor parenting, and this may be two sides of the same coin, and lack of familial support. So
I would just jump in and here and say that one of the issues that I know that the Attorney General is supposed to be looking at in the District of Columbia is if a parent finds a gun in their home or in their child's room, what process can that parent take to get that gun away, to turn it over to authorities without necessarily turning their child over to authorities?
Well, I would like to take it even further than that. What surprised me, I recently did a case where this young man, the young man who was charged with the Mother's Day shooting of 10-year-old Ariana Davis, they found handguns, 2 handguns under his pillow in his bed. Right. They found 2 assault weapons under his bed in his mama's home. Right. But yet he was the only one charged. Now my question is, when are we going to start charging parents or homeowners or people whose homes these are, where guns are found that belong to these teens?
Well, that's the situation that some of the parents find themselves in. That they may know or find or come across a weapon in the home. They want to get the weapon out of the hands of the child, but they don't necessarily want to turn their child over to authorities. How can parents do that? They are looking for answers, and the Attorney General was supposed to be getting back with someone in Ward 8 to answer that question. Also, if I'm not mistaken, I thought I heard on a news report yesterday that it's either school superintendents or school districts now that are filing lawsuits against social media companies because of the impact that they're having on young people. Police will tell you now, especially these young wannabe rappers or what have you.
Yes,
they're telling the stories about rapping about crimes that they're about to commit, did commit,
beefing with neighborhoods, all in the lyrics, putting it all out
and
there.
It's a lot that's happening on social media. To me, a cell phone has become just as dangerous as a gun. And we don't have any reins around how social media can be used by young people. People are making money off of the cell phones and off of the social media platforms, just like they're making money off of weapons. Everybody's making money off of gun violence. Everybody, except the victim and the perpetrator.
Who's everybody?
Oh, so
other than gun manufacturers, yes.
Well, the police, the courts, the jails, the hospitals, the doctors, the you name it. When a person gets shot, the community that has to come into play to address that issue is an employee that's getting paid to do that job, right? So people. If we were to stop gun violence tomorrow, which we would love to do, people would, now have to find something else to do. Right?
But I don't think that the hospitals would still be busy because we have car accidents, because we have sickness and other things. I think,
and those people that sit in those waiting rooms because they haven't been shot.
No, I get that, but I'm saying that yes, I agree that there would be a huge shift if we could end gun violence tomorrow, but I would still think that there are still some of those same entities.
Right. They're not going to go away.
They're still going to be fires.
Right. They're not going to go away.
We're still going to need firefighters. We're still going to need paramedics, EMTs.
Still going to need jails and COs.
No, I get it. I don't disagree with that, but I'm just saying that the more we study a problem and put money behind a problem and we can't solve it means the more money we put behind the problem that we can't solve, and the more money we put behind a problem. The same thing we're talking about with the wars. You know what I'm saying? We keep putting money behind a problem that has not been solved. It's not that it can't be, but it has not been solved.
Let me go back to the phone lines, 202-319-7810, 202-319-7810. Mickey calling from Maryland. Thanks for calling, Mickey. What's on your mind?
Hi, Harold. Really enjoyed your guys' program this evening.
Thank you.
Start back to your earlier conversations. We have all these senators with all these earmarks.
Turn your radio down for me, please, Mickey, and then go right ahead.
Yes. We have all these senators with all these earmarks in all their states. We have all of these corporations that are subsidized by the government. We have, as the lady on your program, she mentioned how we're subsidizing Israel and other countries. We have so much money going out and just being manipulated. We fund the Pentagon, the weapons makers, the warmongers. We subsidize them. All they do is deal death. Instead of putting our resources into all of these children and babies raising babies with no ethics, morals, or just understanding of just common sense or life, they're going to continue killing themselves, us, their neighbors, and everyone around them. They have no hope. They have no training. They have no education. They have nothing. So all they do is they can't even discuss a problem. They can't use their hands as we used to. Have a little scuffle, a little fight. It was over. He went home. Today they pull a gun. They shoot. They kill each other. There's no understanding of how to even compromise or come to an understanding of a disagreement between any of them.
Okay. Well, Mickey, thank you so much. I appreciate your comment. Let's go to Ido. I believe that's the name, calling from D.C. Go right ahead.
How you doing? I was talking about the recent murders in D.C.
Go right ahead. Yeah.
And how the victims aren't able to sue the gun manufacturers because of all these illegal weapons that are in the city and getting into the children. How are these children getting these illegal guns? And how these guns are illegal coming into the city? And that the victims of these crimes aren't able to sue the manufacturer for allowing their weapon to be released into the city and causing so much havoc. And it's almost a weapon of mass destruction itself. They have the serial numbers and all that. We live in a time and age where we should be able to track these guns. Who's just letting the guns out? They just let out. You know, the manufacturer has that serial number for the police departments to track those guns.
Yeah.
And one thing.
Well, real quick, just respond to that. A lot of these guns that are being used today are called ghost guns, which means they do not have serial numbers. These are guns that are assembled. These are guns that are piece by piece. That's why they are so popular. So a lot of these guns that are being used in these violent crimes, at least in the District of Columbia, are not coming from gun manufacturers, do not have serial numbers, which is why they are so popular.
But they're still expensive. They're not cheap guns.
Oh no,
From my
I'm saying that.
understanding, a ghost gun can cost about $300 to $500 to produce. So you got to have some money to make one. Or they're
trading. They're trading cars. They're carjacking cars, trading cars for guns.
Yeah, I know. Thank you so much for your phone call. You know, to your point, you know, Denise, what is $200 or $300 or $400?
To a 14-year-old is a lot of money.
Maybe, but if you are robbing someone, if you are committing crimes, and we know that very, very young people are committing crimes, and like Keith said, yes, there may be trading on. On
social media, a lot of trading.
And not even that. And I remember when we had a conversation with the Prince George's County Police Department several months ago, and they were saying that older criminals will have young kids carjack cars to be used in other crimes because the penalties for younger people are not as severe as it would be for adult criminals. And in one way, shape, or form, these adult or older criminals are subsidizing the younger people. And one of the questions that was asked many months ago in our newsroom, and I have to salute our news director, Renee Nash, for bringing this up. And this is not a rhetorical question. This is a real question. Do either of you know where you can get a gun if you needed one? And I don't mean buying one legally.
I don't.
Keith?
I don't think I do.
But you would be surprised at how many people, law-abiding citizens, because everybody's got a Peanut or Ray Ray in their family.
Well, and that's why I said think.
Yeah, you have to think about it, because when that question was first, posed, my initial response was no. But then when I had to think about outside of the immediate Mercury, Venus, Mars of my circle, and started thinking about the Saturn and the Pluto and the Milky, the outer Milky Way, the people that I have come across, could I, if I absolutely needed or felt I needed one, and that's me, good old law-abiding citizen Harold Fisher, WHUR. But then what about these other people who are not me, not like me,
who live in neighborhoods where guns are aplenty?
Yeah.
Well, I live in one of those neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And I don't know where to get a gun from.
Right, and because you're Denise
I'm sure
Rolark
that I
Barnes,
could walk to the corner and ask somebody who would know.
That's my point.
So yeah, I mean, you asked me if I know to get a gun. No, I don't.
But so you might know somebody who knows somebody.
Oh, I'm sure I know somebody who knows somebody.
Right, and who knows somebody.
Or I know to find somebody that I may not know that person, but I could find somebody, right?
And I think that goes to the point about where are these guns coming from, because there are no gun manufacturers in the District of Columbia, okay, or legitimate.
Well, a lot of these guns, I was surprised to find out, a lot of these guns, and I think I said this before, are coming up from Florida, Georgia, and the Carolinas. It used to be years ago they were coming up through Virginia.
Right.
But now they've further down 95, and they're further down in Florida, coming up straight up through 95. Virginia is either out of the game or whatever, but it's now coming from Georgia and the Carolinas.
But there are gun. My point is there are gun shops. That's what I'm saying. Oh, well. There are no gun shops in D.C., but there are gun shops in Virginia.
There used to be one on Good Hope Road, though.
Well, is it there now?
I don't think it is.
I don't think so. But there's a Beretta plant in southern Prince George's County.
Right. But
where?
Yes, Beretta has a not a store, but a
plant.
But Keith, let me ask you the story. What you just shared with us about the young man who had the guns under the pillow and the other guns under the bed. We know about the story of the young man, but what's the story about the guns? Where did that story go? Where did that go?
That's a great question. And that's
excuse me, real quick. Beretta USA Corporation. It's in Accokeek. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's a good question. Here's what's so interesting is that they cannot get these defendants, even if the kids take a plea deal, defense take a plea deal, they do not talk about where they got the guns. That's called snitching, I guess. They, and no matter how they try, the prosecutors cannot get out of them, the majority of them, where they got these guns. And I don't know if they're afraid for their families, which probably a lot of it, but they do not talk about where or how they got these guns.
I need to move on because we could talk about this ad nauseum, but I do want to talk about something that, and this is really kind of fascinating, where there was a doctors group which has withdrawn its paper on excited delirium, and I think most people are saying, well, what's that? What is excited delirium? Which it's and I need to make sure that I get.
They pretty much said George Floyd. They initially said that's what George Floyd.
Transient disturbance in consciousness and cognition. It involves combative and/or violent behavior. So indeed, during the course of an arrest, and somebody becomes violent and the like. Well, this doctors group has said that is not an argument for death by excessive force, and I think that is a huge issue. That's a huge issue because, and I'm just looking here at this information, where when you're talking about Daniel Prude in Rochester, New York, in 2020, in March of 2020, the officer put a hood over his head because, and he was. He was naked on the streets, and he was, spitting and the whole thing. Well, yeah, he died. And again, like you said, George Floyd and others.
If it wasn't for that young girl in that video, Minneapolis police put out a press release that said that the George Floyd became under distress, and that's what happened. He was taken to the hospital and he died. If it wasn't for that video, that would have been the narrative. There's a Howard gentleman, Dr. Roger Mitchell, who has a book out on just this thing about autopsies and called Death in Custody, and examines. Mitchell was on the forefront of arguing against this cause and letting people know that this should not be used as a reason for people dying legitimately in the hands of police officers. And this is a huge deal. Finally, police officers cannot hide behind
excited delirium. And I think it goes back to how handcuffed suspects are handled, where whether it's a knee on the neck, a knee on the back, when their chests are flat on the ground and they cannot breathe. They can't breathe. And I think this is an issue that police departments, large and small, will have to do their best to address.
So I missed this story, and I'm not sure if I understand what you mean when you say excited delirium.
Basically,
is that the
heart attack, basically?
Right.
That this person,
that was the cause of death.
Exactly.
Excited delirium.
But it's a result of a needle to the neck, pressing somebody down. This is coming from the actions brought on by excessive force from the police officer.
It's interesting, and this is probably not completely related, but I know that there are efforts out there now for people to. I spoke with someone not too long ago who has this thought about something that one could put on their ID card. If you are a person who has autism or some kind of condition that could be misconceived by a police officer as a violent outburst, but it's because you don't. Your body just operates that way, that you can have something on your ID that really shows a police officer this is a person that could be easily stressed out. Now, whether folks would want to do that or not, but there's a movement now.
Or whether police officers will really even care. If they feel that their lives were now in jeopardy.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, if you can get to that point.
Yeah,
right.
if you get to that point, and might it be better if they have one of those medical alert bracelets that say the same, because getting to a medical alert bracelet is a whole lot quicker than going through someone's wallet while there is a muscular attempt to subdue a suspect. So that's that's certainly that's certainly an issue. I do also want to talk about happening right now, and I mentioned this earlier today, that the mayor of the District of Columbia, Muriel Bowser, is having these meetings about the future of RFK Stadium. She wants to bring the Washington Commanders back to D.C. There's a lot of talk about, if you demolish the stadium, you're going to have to build another one. And if you look at some of the models that we have seen across the country, I don't think that there is an appetite for taxpayer dollars. I don't care how much you like the Commanders to build another stadium.
City Council said, where's the money going to come from? Because it's not in our budget. It's not in the city. So unless the Magic and the Commanders is going to cough up that money, we should see who's going to pay for that. the residents definitely, particularly the residents in that neighborhood, have made it very clear they do not want the commanders coming back there.
Because when the team was there before, for years and years and years and years, and I remember when my grandparents would go, that one of the things that they had problems with, of course, was parking, and they didn't live in the neighborhood. And so for the people who do live there, the parking and all of the, you know, the rabble rousing and everything else that comes with tailgating, and I just don't see how that is going to be possible.
Well, there is also Metro there too, so
yeah,
right. And I would say, I mean, one, I'm full disclosure, I can't talk a lot about the stadium as a member of the board of Events DC, so I cannot go there. But I will say,
there's always a moment.
Come on now, let's go this question.
I have to
there's a
disclose
whole
that.
thing.
And not that I know any more than you do. I have to say that.
Not.
But you look at neighborhoods.
Plausible deniability.
You look at Audi Field and that stadium, and one of the things about those two stadiums was that there was, from what I understand, and now if somebody wants to call and correct this, it would be fine, but there was very little displacement because what Audi Field is built over there by there was nothing there but warehouses, and same thing with Nat Stadium. There was a block or a couple of homes over in there, but it wasn't displaced. People were not impacted as much as the stadium might be, but the economic development that has come to those areas is unbelievable.
But also that caused the displacement is the ripple effect of the stadium, the restaurants, and all of that.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what caused the displacement.
We lost churches over there.
Yes, that's what caused the displacement.
Yeah, I guess.
So indirectly, it did.
It did. So I mean, I can see. I think that there's going to have to be, and I'm glad the mayor is doing this, and I think she's going to have to continue to listen to the residents, and if they bring a stadium to this city, which I mean, we didn't want Nat Stadium. I don't remember us being asked about Audi Field, but I know there was a lot of dissatisfaction and disagreement with building a baseball stadium. But it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Yeah. The RFK's got to come down.
It does.
That's got to come down.
Yeah. But then
where's the money come to build?
What do you do?
Or to build anything.
And what does that mean, for Langston Golf Course and
what does Langston Golf Course have to do with the stadium?
Well, because that's part of that area. I mean, if you're going to build something bigger and better,
well, hopefully it'll benefit Langston.
Let us hope so.
Mm-hmm. If there's some ripple effect, I don't know, but I mean that's a whole different piece.
Right.
Yeah, because I would seriously doubt that any new stadium, let's say on that plot of land, is going to be the size that RFK is going. It's going to be bigger. It's going to be better. It's and all of the things that that impacted are going to be big. They're not just going to stick a stadium and nothing else like they did with
you'll see restaurants all Eastern High School, going all the way down to Eastern. I mean that's Armory, the days will be over. I'm sure the Armory will be gone. Yeah. That's a major ripple effect.
Let me go to the phone lines, 202-319-7810, 202-319-7810. Dean calling from D.C. Thanks for calling, Dean. What's on your mind?
Oh, wow. Yeah, thank you, everybody. I first want to say, I really appreciate this station, and I have to give my respect to Miss Rolark. I knew her father, and but anyway, let me get to it. In terms of the things that you have been talking about, in particular, this ever-growing war over in Israel and so forth. Even some of the stuff that you were talking about, with the guns and the violence in the city and so forth. I think, based on an interview that I've heard on another station earlier, is the most important thing would be to have a mantra: peace. If the president had gotten off that plane over in Israel, and something came out of his mouth, look, we got to talk peace first before we do anything else. Mm-hmm. That starts, another mechanism, to begin something. It has to, ricochet in other people's ears.
Yeah. Dean, I'm really low on time, but I appreciate your comments, and without a doubt, I think everybody will agree.
You know what I'm thinking? What I'm hearing
about peace
from your callers, real quick.
Real quick.
This is going to turn into Biden's Vietnam. I really, as we come up to this election, this is going to be his Vietnam.
Yeah, it's quite possible. Two big things that we need to address real quick. The Washington Informer.
Yes.
59 years.
59 years.
59.
On October the 16th.
Come on. Yeah. Black press.
Not Denise, but the.
Yeah, but this is your father's legacy. I knew your dad. First job that I had, coming out of college, I was an audio engineer at another radio station, and when your father was there, but. What does this 59th anniversary mean, not only for you, but also for the black press?
Well, as we see what's happening with media across this country, and not only just newspapers, but radio stations, TV stations, this is a tough time. And people need information that they can believe and trust. And no matter what it is. So we're all trying to make sure that we are providing that kind of information to, like this show, Harold, just to make sure that we can give the reader something that they can work with and make the quality of life better. For the Washington Informer and the black press, we're still here. Yeah. We're not losing our black publications. Actually, we're getting stronger. And we don't know how long that's going to last, how long this road is going to last, but we are getting stronger. And
stronger in what way?
Well, our staffs are growing. We are becoming more digital. So you can find most of us. We all have, websites. We're social media. We do our own broadcasts on YouTube and Facebook. We are. The way I put it is, the black press may be on the back of the bus, but we're on the bus, and we're moving. We are moving. As media moves and as digital expands, we're doing the same thing. And that keeps us engaged and relevant to new readers who are really interested in what the black story is. And as long as we keep our focus on that, I think we'll be around.
Denise, congratulations.
Awesome.
Also, Howard Homecoming Weekend. Howard HU,
yes. You
watch Howard.
Yes,
now.
indeed.
You can't say that.
I can say it because I'm here. And finally, I will definitely say this. We have seen two recent homecomings at HBCUs marred by violence. Here at Howard University, there will be increased security and increased vigilance. And so as you come to the Mecca to celebrate and to remember and to enjoy yourselves, be safe and watch out for each other.
This program was on the go and on demand.
Denise, Keith, thank you so much
on the go and on demand. WHUR and WHUT are with you. Download the WHUR app today to get full access to shows, playlists, and our latest contests. To access
Yeah, I wonder what happened to the airplane.
Excuse me, 1 second. Excuse. 3, 2, 1. We're at the Reporters Roundtable. Okay. Also, I got church announcements later on. So, all right. Thank you. If you missed the Daily Drum, you missed. Excuse me, 1 second. Excuse. 3, 2, 1. We're at the Reporters Roundtable. Missed. We're at the Reporters. Missed. We're at the Reporters Roundtable. Missed. We're at the Reporters Roundtable. Conversation continues in just a bit.